The first time I got to drive an Ioniq 5 was actually back in 2022 at a Hyundai N event where we drove a bunch of the N models on a track in Georgia. The Ioniq 5 wasn't really part of that experience, and I didn't do any coverage of it at the time, but they had one on hand, not to drive on the track, but to drive on some back roads. And jumping behind the wheel for the first time in the Ioniq 5, it really blew me away. Fast forward now to 2025, we've got an updated interior, a little bit updated design, bigger batteries, and key for 2025 is the updated Tesla Supercharger network capabilities. I also did have the opportunity to drive this quickly at one of our Auto Roundup events this year. It was the exact same vehicle, and I've got a video out on that. But now I've spent a full week with it. I've had the family in it. I've done grocery runs in it. I've charged it at a Tesla Supercharger network. And that's what we're diving in today, checking out the Ioniq 5. Let's get into it. All right, before we dive into this one specifically, let's quickly talk about the trims offered for 2025. You have the SE, the SEL, and the Limited trim. Limited trim is what we have here, is basically the top of the line. But for 2025, we also have the XRT trim. And if you know anything about Hyundai and their XRT trim, it is more of an off-road focused trim. We've driven it in the Santa Fe and in the Palisade, but now they're offering it here in the Ioniq 5, which I think is pretty cool. It's not going to be a super hard off-roader, but I'm sure it'll be competent, and hopefully I'll get to drive that trim sometime soon as well. Maybe at our truck rodeo event coming up soon this year. But for now, we are focusing on what we have here, the Limited trim with all-wheel drive. Let's take a look at the exterior design. Styling has always been one of the Ioniq 5's strongest points. It's retro-futuristic, kind of a cyberpunk hatchback mixed with an SUV. The 2025 refresh doesn't really mess with that formula much, and that's a good thing. We've got new front and rear bumpers, a redesigned rear spoiler, some aerodynamic tweaks, and fresh wheel designs. This Limited trim rides on 20-inch alloys, which fill out the stance really nicely. I've really liked this design since day one. It looks unique without being weird. And out here in Texas, where Tahoes and Teslas crowd the roads, the Ioniq 5 still manages to turn heads. Out back, we do have a power lift gate. It is the lift gate that will open if you just stand by it with the key in your pocket. Helpful if you're loading it up with groceries and have your hands full. Cargo space is solid. With the rear seats up, you're looking at about 26 cubic feet. And if you fold those down, it expands to almost 59 cubic feet. Add in a small frunk up front, which is big enough for either charging cables or a small bag. The whole setup is plenty for grocery getting, sports gear, weekend trip, whatever you need. It's obviously not as cavernous as the Ioniq 9 I drove earlier this year, but for a compact EV crossover, it's plenty usable. Powertrain-wise, this Limited comes with dual motors and the new 84 kilowatt-hour battery. That means 320 horsepower, 446 pound-feet of torque. Good for an EPA estimated 269 miles of range with these 20-inch wheels. Hyundai still runs an 800-volt electric architecture, so DC fast charging is super quick. About 20 minutes to go from 10% to 80% at a 350 kilowatt charger. And new for 2025, obviously, is the Tesla NACS port built right into the car. No adapter needed. You actually need the adapter if you're charging at a traditional charging station. You can roll right up to a Tesla Supercharger and plug it in here, no issues. And that's exactly what I did the entire week that I had this. I've said it before and I'll keep saying it. If I were going to buy an EV for myself, Tesla network access is non-negotiable. Whether it's through an adapter like the Chevy Equinox I drove, or a built-in port like this. That charging network is the difference between EV maybe and EV yes. Step inside the Ioniq 5 and you've stepped inside the future. It is tech forward, it looks really sharp. You get the pixelated design throughout. Seats are really comfortable. You get dark green for your accent color, which looks almost gray, but is really nice. For 2025, we have a redesign of the AC and heat controls, steering wheel, placement of the phone charger. Let me pick you up and give you a good look around. All right, starting off looking at the interior, we do have our push button start and updated AC and heat controls here. This is all a touch screen, so you can just easily tap. I have no issues with it at all. You've got physical buttons for your media controls here, including your volume knob. Vents are up here, hazard button, and then your large screen, which is two separate screens, obviously. Touch screen here. Hyundai's interface is really nice. The UX system is good, responsive, easy to use. You also do get Apple CarPlay here, wireless or wired. Down below you can see your one USB-C port there, and it can swap between just charging or charging and interfacing with the infotainment system. And my phone sitting right here. So Hyundai's had issues with some of their Apple CarPlay implementations, but this no issue at all. Digital screen, again, really nice. You can flip through a few different pages to monitor. All digital, all just fine. Steering wheel is newer with the lights right here that are charging indicators. You do get a drive mode button here. It looks like it would be a dial to turn, but it's a push button. And as you push it, you can see we have Eco, Normal, Sport, My Drive, and Snow. I actually have the My Drive set up with sporty steering, but Eco on the power. But we'll put it into Sport as we drive it and test that out later. Again, all the buttons that you would expect to have on the steering wheel here. Our gear shifter is this big chunk thing right here that's coming in a lot of the Hyundais these days. Twist it forward for drive, back for reverse. When we put it in reverse, you can see we do have a full 360 camera system as well as the backup camera, and then push in right here for park. You can also see kind of that we do have a head-up display here, which gives you a lot of good information, especially if you're in like the autonomous driving mode. All really nice. Then we do have the rear view camera. For the rear view mirror, you can flip it to be just the mirror or the camera. Something that I like there. Moving to our center console, we do have an array of buttons here, from our ventilated and heated seats, heated steering wheel, a camera button, parking sensors. Right here is your wireless charging pad for your phone, so you can throw it down here and it will start wirelessly charging. And out of a lot of vehicles, I found that this one is really good at just being able to pick it up and start charging. It doesn't really slide around. You don't have to really get it into a perfect spot. It's easy just to throw down there. You also have a slot here that's decent for your phone, cup holders here. Very spacious on the interior. There's more USB-C charging way down under here that you can't really see. Armrest is a bit squishy here. Not much of a cubby there, but decent enough. Seats are really nice. Nice material, nice bolstering, nice and squishy. You do get that pixelated design pattern here. Nice headrests. Rear seats are a good size. I fit back there with no issue. Kids fit back there with no issues. Plenty of room. We do have the full panoramic sunroof. Or moonroof, which is really nice. Shades in the back windows. I think I've hit on about everything. Let's go ahead and get this thing out on the road and talk about the drive. All right, now let's talk about the driving, because this is where the Ioniq 5 surprised me back in 2022, and it still does today. Acceleration is brisk. Handling is sharp. braking feels natural. And yes, you do have the regenerative braking paddles, and you can adjust the amount of regenerative braking based on those paddles. So set it where you like it. It's genuinely fun to throw around. You can feel its weight over traditional crossover, hot hatch type of vehicles. But for an EV, especially at its price, it's really something. Ride comfort is great also. Sure, you do notice a bit more road noise or wind noise, but that's mostly because there's no engine noise masking it. We also do have Hyundai's Highway Driving Assist 2, which works just fine. I used it for a longer commute on the highway. You don't really have to keep your hands on the wheel. Everything just runs and runs well. But I'll be a bit honest in saying that it doesn't feel like it's progressed much in the last few years. When competitors like GM's Super Cruise and obviously Tesla's full self-driving technology are pushing the tech forward, Hyundai's system risks falling behind. And I'd really like to see it stepped up, especially in their Ioniq series of vehicles. And let's talk a little bit about the off-road. Despite being all-wheel drive, the Limited isn't really built for off-road duty, but for 2025, Hyundai added the XRT trim with all-terrain tires, a suspension lift, and rugged styling. It's not a rock crawler, obviously, but if you want an Ioniq 5 that looks and feels more adventurous, the XRT has you covered there. And again, hopefully we'll get to drive that at a off-roading event that we're going to soon. If Hyundai brings it, it would be nice, and I'll have a video out for that. All right, let's quickly talk about the price of this thing and some of its competition before we wrap up the video. This Limited all-wheel drive with a few options has a full MSRP of just under $60,000. It's 58 something, and that's a lot of money. But this is also the first product rolling off the line at Hyundai's new Georgia plant. So it does qualify for tax credits being an American-made vehicle. So $7,500 off is a pretty good deal. And how does it stack up? The Model Y from Tesla is obviously one of the big competitors to this, and I really like the design of the new Juniper Y. I haven't got behind the wheel of one yet. I've watched a lot of videos on it, but it's definitely one that I would consider. But also looking at the launch edition at least and what's out on the market right now, they're much more pricey than you're looking at for this Ioniq 5. You also have Ford's Mach-E, which again, I haven't gotten to drive yet. Not any version of the Mach-E. Hopefully one day Ford will let me drive one. I've asked them plenty of times and just either doesn't work out or they don't have any for the press fleet in Dallas. Neither here nor there. It's a solid vehicle, different styling, focus on performance. If you like the styling and you can get over the fact that people will laugh at you for calling it a Mustang. You also have Volkswagen ID4, which I have driven and is a really solid crossover, more crossover feeling than this. This almost feels more like a hatchback, which definitely isn't a bad thing. And then you have Kia's EV6, which is also a really great one, especially the EV6 GT. It is obviously more expensive, but if you're looking for something that really pushes it, the EV6 GT is fun. But again, styling. And then obviously Hyundai's own lineup, the Ioniq 6. I didn't like the styling from pictures and renderings, but I drove it last year and actually really loved it. Really loved the styling, seeing it in person. Drove really well, just as well as this. It's just more of a sedan style. And then obviously I drove the Ioniq 9, which is bigger, more expensive, completely different use case. But if you have a family like I do, very compelling. With that, let's jump out and I'll give you some of my final thoughts and we'll wrap this thing up. So at the end of the week, my question was, is the Ioniq 5 still the coolest EV crossover you can buy? And for me, the answer still is yes. For 2025, they've only improved it. Bigger batteries, more tech-focused interior, ability to charge at Tesla charging networks. It's a bit pricey, and I think Hyundai could do a lot more with its driver assist technologies. But at the end of the day, it's a great value, and it's a great vehicle, really worth checking out. The Ioniq 5 is just hard to beat at this point. With that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the 2025 Ioniq 5. Is the XRT the trim you would get, or the Limited, or are you going for the base trim? Or are you in love with the competition? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We do a different review every week. Lots of great content on here, lots of great EVs and EV stories. Really worth checking out if you haven't already. Also, take a look at TXGARAGE.com, where we've got a lot of written reviews as well as event news coverage from a lot of great authors over there, not just myself. Really worth checking out TXGARAGE.com. With that, that's all I got for this one, guys. Thanks for watching.